Hey guys, hope you're all having a fantastic weekend. I've had quite a few requests from people asking if I could do a lesson on soloing over Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out. Although this is a blues, soloing over these changes requires just a little more thought and planning than usual. Because of the chord changes, we can't really just stay within a pentatonic scale. We're going to have to turn towards our triads and our arpeggios in order to find good melodic target notes to aim for. So first things first, I would always recommend working on triads. You can never know them too well. Get really comfortable with them on all string sets and all inversions. So let's think about the first few changes of the song. C major, E7, A7. If we just tackle that to begin with, over the C we're going to play this phrase, where we can be visualizing either a C major pentatonic scale, or we can be thinking about triads. We can be thinking about a C major triad here, in root position, and then the next inversion down, the second inversion. I'm playing this note, and then I'm bending the G string towards the major third, but not quite making it, giving it that bluesy lilt. And then coming down to the root. Now over the second chord of the song, the E7, this is where you'd already be running into trouble if you were using just a C major pentatonic over these changes. In my opinion, targeting the third of any chord change is a crucial step in your development as a lead player. And again, that's the beauty of your triads. If you know your triads, you're going to know where all your thirds are. Having a solid map of your triads will also help you to easily find your extensions, for example, the flat 7. So let's imagine we're on the E7 chord and we're looking for an E major triad, third, fifth root. Where can we put the flat 7 in? There we go, 7th fret of the G string. If we completed the arpeggio with the root down here, you'd now have a full 1 octave E7 arpeggio. Root, 3, 5, flat 7, root. Now all we're going to play in this phrase is the flat 7 and the root. Now the next chord is A7. Again, this is where the C major pentatonic would really fall short, because the A7, if we're trying to target the third, we need to be hitting that C sharp note. And that's what we do. And then we're thinking A major triad, just to fill things out a bit. So I'm kind of visualizing this triad here on string set 3. This would be a second inversion, A major, 5th, root, 3rd. So now you've got all of this. C, E7, A7. Now what are the next few changes? We have D minor, A7, D minor. For the D minor, I'm just picturing this root position triad on string set 1. Root, flat 3, 5. Going to break it into pairs. I guess you could call these dyads if you want to be technical about it. And then move down a semitone in time to catch the A7 chord. Now if we think about that, these two notes are from your A major triad. So it works beautifully. Move this up a few frets, and now you've got two notes that work well for the A7. You've got the flat 7 and the 5th. Back to your D minor with a little side step to the A and back. So now we have all of this. C, E7, A7, D minor, A7, D minor. So we're still on the D minor, but we're thinking ahead and trying to plan a route to get to the next chord. The next chord is F, followed by the F sharp diminished. So if we're here on this D minor, we can walk down with that chromatic passing note to the lowest note in an F major second inversion triad on string set 1. So we're thinking of this next. And that's our phrase. We're walking down from D minor to F. Any chance you get to put chromaticism in between target notes from one chord to another, it's going to really help to smooth out those phrases and make them sound less like exercises and more like lines. Then we're just tracking the changes. F, F sharp, diminished. The beautiful thing about that is you only need to move one note. The F goes up to F sharp, and the result would be an F sharp diminished triad. So you got D minor, F, F sharp diminished, and then we're just going to arpeggiate that triad. And then we're thinking the next chord C comes along, so we grab this note here, this G. This is part of a C major triad. And again, we're thinking of chromaticism here as a way of tying 2 points together. We're thinking C, walking chromatically down to A7, where we're thinking of this A major triad, just tying the 2 points together. Now we're on the A7, we're going to grab a really nice extension. We're going to aim for the 9th. So we're thinking of an A dominant 9 kind of sound. C, A7, and then resolving to this note here over the D7 chord. This note, of course, would be part of a D major triad. That's your 5th. So from the F, we've got all of this. Now on this D7, we're going to grab these 2 notes, which is the tritone, you know, the 2 notes that make it a dominant 7th chord. You've got your 3rd and your flat 7. And again, triads are still going to help you to locate these extensions. You can be thinking of a D major triad here, and if you know that you've got the 5th on top, you just need to go up 3 frets and you've got your flat 7. Put that flat 7 together with the 3rd, give that 3rd a little bit of a bend, maybe just a quarter at most, and it's a great sound over the dominant chord, over a D7. Now again, we're going to look ahead to the next bar and figure out a way to elegantly approach the next chord. So the next chord is G7. So you might want to visualize this G major triad on string set 1. You know where your 3rd is. Approach it from a semitone below, typical blues style. Grab the root on top. So you've got a nice 6th interval there. Then we're going to repeat that little bluesy approach to the 3rd, but chuck the flat 7 on the end. We're playing over G7 after all. Now we're about to start our second solo over the changes. We're thinking C major. Classic phrase, again, same kind of thing as on the G. Visualize this C major triad here. String set 1 root position. Find your 3rd, approach it from a semitone below, blues style. Grab the 5th, then the root. Okay, so I'm going to recap on all of that from the top, and I'm going to name the chords as I go. 1, 2, 3, 4, C, E7, A7, D minor, A7, D minor, F sharp diminished, C, A7, D7, G7, resolving back home to the C. As always, you can get my exhaustive and thorough lesson materials for this at the link in the description. You can either join my Patreon, where you'll get unlimited access to all of my lesson materials, or you can make a one-off purchase through the Gumroad link, just for this lesson in particular. Full transcription in tab and notation, Guitar Pro and PDF files is provided, plus my backing track and my reference recordings. So now we'll start the second phase of the solo. We've already resolved to our 1 chord, C. Now the E7 is fast approaching, so we're thinking, where's the major 3rd? Just like on the previous 2 chords, we're going to approach it from a semitone below and slide into it. Then grab the root and then the flat 7. This little shape is really handy actually, and it's worth exploring in its own right. You can be visualizing an E major triad here perhaps, and then thinking what would happen if you swapped the 5 for a flat 7. It's a great little shape to play over an E7. So we're going to use that but add 1 passing note to make the root chromatically descend to the flat 7. Continue the chromatic descent, and now we're landing on beat 1 of the A7 chord, landing right on its major 3rd. Again, visualize an A major triad to help you find that stuff. So you got E7, A7. So far, phase 2 sounds like this. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So on the A7, we're visualizing this A major triad to begin with, going from the 3rd to the 5th to the root, and then come down and grab that flat 7. So far in the second phase of our solo, we've got this. 1, 2, 3, 4, C, E7, A7. So next we're hitting that D minor again. That'll go to the A7 and back. This time we're going to bring in a bit more of a blues flavour to the phrase and play this. The first note of that phrase still belongs to that A7, by the way. You can be visualising this A major triad here. We're playing the 5th, and then walking it straight in to the minor 3rd of the D minor, where we play another one of these 6th intervals, flat 3 and root. Now keep that top note and play this trill. Although this is blues scale suddenly, we're still thinking of the triad as a way to relate to it. So we've got the D minor triad here, and we're decorating with blues scale, or D minor blues scale, where you've got the 5th, the flattened 5th, down to the 4th, and we're just trilling between the 4 and the flat 5, but with this pedal tone up on top. Finishing up on the root of the D minor there before playing another little answer to that, which is just simply a D minor triad descending. Flat 3, root, 5th, 3, 4. Now we're on to the F sharp diminished part of the progression again. This time we're going to think of our triads being here. Here's your F major, root position, F sharp diminished. Again, all you've got to do is move the root of the F up a semitone to F sharp, keep the other two notes, and you've got your F sharp diminished triad. We put in a little passing note first. Again, this little trick of just dividing a triad into dyads can get quite a lot of mileage out of your triads. Now we see the C major chord on the horizon. We're going to do the typical thing again of the minor 3rd to the major 3rd of that. Then down to the root, then the 5th. So you can really just be thinking of these two C major triads. Now the next chord is A7, so we're going to tie together the two chords, taking the C, walking up to the root of the A7. Now we're going to apply the same kind of thinking to the A7 to D7 change, thinking of this A major triad here, and think about connecting to this D major triad here, and just do it along the top string. Chromaticism always smooths everything out. Now we're on the root of that D7, we're going to let it ring for a moment, and then we're going to play a little hammer-on from the flat 7 back to that root, and then to the flat 7 again. Because we're on a D7 chord, we want to be trying to add that colour of the flat 7 if possible. Same approach to the G7 coming up. We're thinking this note here is from the D major triad. We have a G on the horizon, so we're thinking G major triad, and we're just going to connect those 2 points along the B string, the 5th of the D7, walking up chromatically to the 3rd of the G. So again, you're getting that bluesy flat 3 to major 3 sound on the G chord. Now we're going to do a different kind of walk down, still on the G. We're going to grab the root and walk down chromatically to the flat 7 to really bring out that flavour of the G7 chord again. So that would be your G7 phrase. Now to finish, it makes sense that we again apply this idea of flat 3 to major 3 on the C chord. So we're going to visualise a C major triad, we're going to find our 3rd, That should be like a shining beacon in the fog. You want to be seeing that from miles off. We'll approach that from a semitone below, grab the 5th on the same string, that would be part of this C major triad, and then grab the root to finish things neatly. I'm going to play through the second phase of the solo, and I'll call out the chord changes as we go. 1, 2, 3. C, E7, A7, D minor, A7, back to D minor, F sharp diminished, C, A7, D7, G7, C. So that's the end of this lead study. I'd recommend really getting to understand these concepts on a deep level. Practice using chromaticism to join one triad to another. Remember all of the things we've applied in this and try and apply it to your own playing. Feel free to ask questions in the comments below and I'll answer them straight away. Also, if there are any concepts here that aren't clear to you or that you could do with some further explanation on, let me know and I'll make a follow-up video. So a quick word about tone. When it comes to playing acoustic guitar, I'd recommend using a fairly hefty pick. Currently I'm using a 2mm Honey Picks plectrum. These things feel really nice, they last a long time as well. I've also really enjoyed using the Dunlop Flow picks, they're really good and very cheap. String wise I would never go less than 12 gauge on an acoustic, just because I like to be able to attack with a bit more force, and I often use a rest stroke technique to bring out a bit more body in the notes, and 12s hang together nicely when you do that. 11s start to get a little bit flappy and buzzy. Although I've mentioned this in previous videos, I think it's worth saying it again here. Rest strokes are going to add a lot more muscle and power to the sound of your notes. As a quick demonstration, here's a phrase using no rest strokes. And here's with. Again, without. With. Makes a big difference to the bottom end in the note. It gives you a lot more muscle. Adds a bit more percussive punch in those lower mids. These strings are Tomastic Spectrum 12 gauge, my favourite acoustic strings by quite a long way. I also really like the John Pierce Phosphor Bronze 12 gauge strings, they're really nice. If I can't get hold of either of those, I'm more than happy enough to use Diodario EJ16s as well. Those are great strings and very cheap. And a quick mention about the guitar. This is my favourite acoustic. This is a Martin HD28V. And it's really kind of starting to look a bit aged. It's got a lot of lacquer cracks going on and a lot of pitting on the back of the body and the neck. I brought it second hand, and it was part of a limited run done for West Side Distribution here in the UK, where they made them really accurate to pre-war spec, and it feels incredible. The neck is beautiful, perfect neck profile for me, quite chunky, very round, and it just has the sound, you know, when you play a guitar and you really connect with it immediately. This has that for me. I was initially trying to sell it on behalf of someone else, but as soon as I played it, I had to buy it myself. If you've enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe and share. It really does help me to continue growing this channel. Thanks again for your support. It means a lot to have you guys stop by once a week and check out what's going on. Hopefully we can build a nice little community here. Take care, and I'll see you next time.